Hi, everybody. Welcome back to yet another interview at the Global Game Jam. Here we have another group that has agreed to be interviewed by me, Zane Petrie, one of the interns of the Center for Games and Interactive Media. So here we have Logan, James, and David. I got that right?
Jacob, but that's
Jacob. I'm so sorry.
No, that's all good.
Oh my God. See, I knew this was happening. So. Why don't we just all start by introducing ourselves by doing like a name, like our niche, like what do we specialize in, and just interesting fact about ourselves.
You want to start off?
Sure. I'm David Snopek. I work at W4 Games, and I'm one of the maintainers of the Godot game engine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the XR team and the GD extension team. Fun fact about myself? I don't know. I got nothing.
Nothing fun.
We'll pass it on to Logan. Maybe I'll get some.
You speak Polish.
I speak Polish.
Yeah, that's a
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
That's a fun fact.
All right.
There's a lot of fun facts about this guy. But more about me now. So my name is Logan Lang. I'm also a Godot guy. I also work at W4 Games. Just started there recently. And I have a Godot-focused YouTube channel, which is, I go by Devlog Logan online. And so I'm just on there and Twitter. I'm sharing like educational and sometimes just some entertaining stuff with Godot. Fun fact about me. It's funny when it's about yourself, you can't really think of anything.
Yeah, that's the tricky part.
Oh, geez, let's see.
You won
One cool thing, man.
Game Jam, the Godot Wild Game Jam once?
I did win the Godot Wild Jam once
Nice.
a while ago. That is a fun fact, thank you. All right, and we'll move on to
Jacob. Yeah. My name's Jacob Zorb. Currently, right now, as just my career, I'm an infrastructure developer at Schneider Trucking, but I do take on game development as a hobby, which is why I'm here today. I haven't really dove in too much into Godot, but for our project, we're using Godot, which is a really cool learning opportunity for me. And I guess one cool fact about me, you're right, it's hard to think of anything.
We're all humble here.
First thing that comes to my mind is I really like just reptiles and lizards specifically. So,
There you go.
yeah.
So what is Godot? Because I came here and I just learned I just don't know what it is whatsoever. So could we just start off with that?
Sure.
it's a game engine.
An
Oh.
open source game.
It is the open source.
I mean, we could say it's similar in what it does, in the way that it does things to Unity, because you have an editor that you can lay things out. You can program it in C# or GDScript, which is the built-in kind of scripting language, also C++ and some other stuff. It's built by a community.
An awesome community.
Yeah. Created by the people who use it, more or less.
All right.
Yeah, it's a good time. I mean, I've been using it for a couple years now. You've been using it a while.
I think maybe 5 years.
5 years, yeah. I think I started using it maybe coming up on like almost 3 years, I think. But yeah, that was like my Godot was it was the horse that I like picked and like started working on when I first started messing around with game development, just making tiny little game projects with it, and I just never looked back. It's a lot of fun to use it. It just kind of resonated with me.
All right.
And you haven't used it before today, right? This weekend, right?
Yeah, not really too much. There was a time back, I think it was like a couple years back, where Godot 3 got really popular, and I kind of picked it up just to see what it was all about. And I used it for about a couple weeks just to make some cool projects, and then I kind of stopped using it for a while until today. But I will say Godot honestly is really interesting just because of how, like for me at least, it's very easy to pick up. I've used a few different, just as a hobby, just different game engines, but Godot is just like, it just makes sense. You can just go in and like, I don't know, it was like 6 hours later, now it's already just like building maps.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really fast to pick up, which is really cool about it.
Great user experience.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very easy to get started with VR.
Exactly. Yeah. VR. It was crazy. And it's all open source, and it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
which is awesome.
So what I'm getting from it is it's very beginner friendly. So you just picked it up this weekend.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the most part. Yeah.
For the most part, okay. So what are you guys making with Godot right now? Like what is your plan today?
While we're making a VR game,
Okay.
the current working title for the VR game is very normal apartment.
Okay.
So the theme for the weekend is make me laugh, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Make me laugh.
That's right.
So we just wanted to like make a funny game, right? So the premise that we're using for the game is that you're in a very normal looking, just like mundane apartment, but there are objects around you that you can interact with, and the way that you interact with those objects, they're going to subvert expectations in like funny ways that hopefully will make everybody laugh.
All right.
Yeah.
So, do you have like an example of some material that you can think of?
I don't want to spoil the big one.
Okay.
We have one in
It
particular
is.
that we think is going to make everybody laugh.
It's
All right.
But yeah, I mean, one that like I'm working on right now is like this idea that like you have a remote that there'll be like a TV in front of you, and hopefully something that resembles a TV remote in front of you, and you think, oh, if I grab this and decide to interact with it, maybe it's going to do something with the TV. It's not going to do that, right? Like it's going to it's not going to do this with what I'm working on. I want to keep it a secret, but
You give an
Yeah.
example. You
Yeah.
press the power button on the remote and the door opens.
yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah. So like expect the unexpected. That's like the little motto you guys are kind of going by here. All right. So what inspired the usage of VR? Do all three of you like VR?
Yeah, I'm probably the most obsessed with VR out of all of us. I have 6 VR headsets.
Whoa!
Wow.
And yeah, me and Logan at work are working on a project related to VR, and so we wanted to, I guess, just get more practice.
100%.
Mhm.
And you have
Yeah,
a headset too.
I have a VR headset. I've used it a lot. I never developed with VR though, and I heard their game idea, and it just sounded kind of just like a cool opportunity, just kind of get hands on with learning about VR specifically in game development too. So that's another reason why I was part of this project. But
And it's been easier than you expected.
oh, way easier, yeah, for sure. I thought I would be sitting here and I wouldn't be getting anything done for the first like 2 days just trying to figure this out, but it took me probably like an hour to get that set up this morning, something a little bit less than that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty cool. But
Yeah. So what I get from it is when you're collaborating with other VR, dare I say, experts, it's,
Maybe Dave.
yeah. It gets quite easier. Hence the collaboration. That's the beauty of what this event is. But yeah. So what are your inspirations for like game design in general? Did you have like a favorite game growing up? And I'm digging
Well,
deep.
that's a
Okay.
big question.
That is the question.
It's an
Oh, yeah.
impossible question. I mean, can it be my favorite 100 games? I like to,
I don't know how much time we got, but if we can run
Just
them off.
immediately it shifted into. I mean, I have a handful. Like when people ask me the question of like what your like favorite game is, some of my go-to answers would be I am a total like I very rarely will purchase like the big AAA games. Like don't get me wrong, I
Mhm.
did buy Baldur's Gate, right?
Yeah,
like,
so did
mean,
I.
I'm only human, but my favorite games almost always are kind of like smaller indie titles, very like games as art sort of things, and some of the more popular ones, like ones that have been like pretty big that I really love are like Outer Wilds is such a popular one,
Mhm.
but that game I think is just like a must play. Return of the Obra Dinn. I really love mystery games. I don't know, but like I think a lot of games where it's like you really are like it's an experience. I don't want to call it like a sandbox game necessarily, but like it's really like you forge your own path forward. Like so, Obra Dinn and Outer Wilds, for example, like they're very different games. There are also games where it's just like you're just kind of dropped in the game, and it's just like you kind of have your goal. And it's like just figure it out. Like there's like you can take a billion different paths towards the end of the game, and it's I don't know, I just love it. It's very like interactive art. You know, that's what I love.
Incredible. What about you two?
If you don't have anything good, I have to go.
Yeah, you can.
My first like video games in my home was we had a Commodore 64.
Yeah.
So kind of old school. I remember we had this adventure creator game where you would make your own little dungeon game.
Yeah, like an
And-
RPG.
I wouldn't say an RPG, but your little character walks around the screen, goes through like a maze essentially. I remember that being amazing because I'm creating a thing that's on the computer, and there's just a magic to that. But yeah, I mean, back in those days, like video games just seemed like magic. Like anything could happen. There's no limits.
Yeah, it's so surreal when you can figure out like you make something through like a computer engine or just anything in general, and you just see it on the screen, play before your eyes, and it's just I mean,
Yeah,
I did that.
I did something great.
it's amazing feeling.
But yeah, that creative energy, it's
I mean, I just think about like when I was saying earlier about how when I like picked up Godot and just like stuck with it, it was I'd been working as a software developer for a little while, and as I got more comfortable with coding, I was just like, maybe I could do this for fun too. So I started looking into that, and I just remember like finding some educational materials online and like coding my first little game, and I'm just like, oh, like the second I did that, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this forever, like 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm a little young, right? I'm only like 21, so I mean, for me, gaming has pretty much been like just I've been gaming like my entire life. I think like honestly, the earliest instance I remember of like me playing video games was like my mom was playing Sonic 06, and that game, it's a trash game. I'm not too sure how that game got me into video games.
Which one's Sonic 06?
That's like the one where they made it and like it was crunch time and it just like there were bugs everywhere and it had like silver in there from like it was like 2000. It was really really old anyway, but I mean gaming was always in my life, but I don't really think I kind of thought about me making like games as like a hobby or anything until I think it was about the time Celeste came out actually, and I realized like that's such a good game, right? Yeah. I remember playing that game and I was like, well, gaming isn't, it's a lot of people just play video games, they don't think too much about it, but I mean, I kind of think gaming is more of like an art form in a sense, It's a way to just really just express ourselves and to share stories and ideas, and I think being a part of that is a really, really just cool thing, So coming to game jams like this, and even just making tiny little funny games like this, it's still something, really cool, so, but, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
one metric. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
But like, I just talking about that, like, and how it's so good and everything. Like, so many of the games that it's not a hard and fast rule, but like most of my favorite games that I do play, just because I do love like being like invested and like it having like a good like story and everything. That's part of the reason like Celeste is so great, because like with Celeste, it's that whole like you're climbing a mountain and everything, and like you get invested, and it's one of those things where it's like when you do, it's just like
you're personally growing with the journey.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where like, I mean, like I have this metric of like, look, if a game makes me cry, it's a good game.
Dude,
Yeah.
And you better believe Celeste made me cry.
I think for me, that kind of moment was actually with God of War Ragnarok, where like that was one of the only games where like I started tearing up at the end, and then I was just like, that's a good game.
I know, and there's not a lot of those AAA games I find that I don't resonate that well with on it, but like God of War, Ragnarok, like
especially the reboot one.
I mean God of War Ragnarok, totally, 100%. Yeah, I have not played them, but like
It changes your perspective on what a
Yes.
game could be.
Yes, I've watched cutscene compilations.
Yeah.
So, is this everyone's first game jam? How many of these events have you gone to in the past?
This is only my second one. I don't know how many you've been to.
So for the Green Bay Game Jam, this is my third time here.
Oh, goodness. All right.
Yeah, I'm a seasoned veteran. But 2
So you
years
can badge with
ago,
that, or?
yeah, I should. But 2 years ago, so the first time that I was here, it would have been my first game jam.
Okay.
But yeah, outside of the Green Bay Game Jam, I've done a handful of other jams as well.
All right.
Yeah, I've done 2 of this one, the Green Bay Global Game Jam, a bunch of the Godot Wild Jam, maybe like 4 or 5 of those. They're real good. It's like a monthly online jam, and probably like a dozen other ones. I don't know, quite a few.
Yeah, this is my first, so I'm completely new to this whole thing.
Are
This
you
internship.
making a game too?
I am, yes.
Oh,
I have a-
fantastic!
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So
So who
I'm-
interviews you?
I don't know yet. That's the thing. I'll have my time coming around soon enough. Maybe you guys can interview me one day. I don't know.
All three of us. But
Yeah, it's
just
like
like,
a- Yeah, it'll be like a little interrogation, I guess. But yeah, my group is currently working on a 2D platformer. It's going to be vertical. It's going to be very Russian themed, like Soviet Russia. There's going to be a lot of jokes around that. Apparently, that's just what we landed on. Like we thought of comedy, and we're like, what's the most random thing we could think of? Soviet Russia, apparently. So we're
are they going to be like in Soviet Russia?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, stuff like that.
Those as a throwback.
Yeah, so I'm a writing major at the Green Bay campus, so anything coding related I can't do. I found that out the hard way soon enough, but luckily I don't have to do the coding part. All I have to do is write the funny jokes, and the people that are doing the coding, shout out to all of them, yeah, they are definitely putting the work in for actually making sure those jokes show up on the screen. I am at a blank for what I currently gave for like material, but I submitted an entire like Word document. There's like at least 4 pages worth of content, so there has to be something in there, right? Yeah. Once the brain starts rattling off, it's just you gotta keep it going before it stops.
Yeah, the first year that I came here,
Mhm.
and I hadn't even done a game jam before, but I was like, okay, like I know how to like code and like throw it together, and I figured I was probably gonna end up like working by myself, but I'm not a writer.
Mhm.
I hate doing that stuff. I can't do it. But I definitely, her name was April Bub, I think.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know her.
Yeah, and so she was here and like she pitched an idea and I was like, I like that idea better. So I just worked with her and she just did all of the writing and just dumped like this massive document to everything on it. And so like there was a lot of like dialogue in the game. I was like, this is so great that I don't have to worry about writing any of this, and I just did all the programming. It was awesome.
That's surprising. Yeah. April just graduated not too long ago as well. She was actually part of. I work on campus in like the Phoenix Club area as well for the Green Bay area, and she was also working there too. So it's a very small world.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, she's a game writer too. What?
I feel
So-
like the Green Bay campus has a lot of like writers that are into writing for games.
Mhm.
Yeah, at least at this jam, a lot of them seem to pop up. And
Yeah.
there's like the English faculty that's like here too. That's
Yeah.
super into games. I think that's incredible.
Yeah, like practically half or a good third of the English professors are in a group right now. They're doing some pretty interesting things too, but I won't steal the thunder on like explaining that. I'll let them describe what they're doing. But yeah, it's just like what we were talking about before the cameras started rolling. I kind of wish they were, to be honest with you. But it's just the Green Bay campus is like allowing for a lot more game-centered activity or just knowledge about games. Like the esports center, that just doubled in size, believe it or not. We might have lost a couple billiards tables in the process, but
Sacrifices have to be made.
yeah, exactly.
Gamer's got a game, you know. So.
And with the rather new Center for Games and Interactive Media, I believe this is our second year just of existence. I mean, of course, it was probably founded way before 2 years ago. But we're trying to like form bridges with the esports team, for example, so we can project their games to a larger audience, just like how other college campuses are too. So those are some of the things that we're doing currently. But yeah, just creating that community around games to help like host events like this, for example. It just helps people go from that fledgling stage of being just a coder or just a writer, and then they can expand, they can gain knowledge, they can swap their LinkedIn profiles or something along those lines, and then they can just make beautiful games like the apartment that does the randomest of things.
The very normal.
The very
apartment.
normal
Yeah.
apartment.
Nothing weird will happen.
Absolutely
Nothing
nothing
weird,
strange
yeah.
will happen.
Absolutely nothing. Well, why don't we wrap this up by allowing you three to promote yourself a bit, put yourself out there. How do we find you? What are you working on?
Sure. So I've got a blog and a YouTube channel, Snowpeck Games. You can Google it.
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel. I'm on Twitter. Devlog Logan. You can also Google it. I'm sure you'll find it.
I'm not really on anything, but you can follow me on LinkedIn at Jacob Zorb. You do usually post on there just about really anything going on in my life. So.
And just to like clarify, what do we all niche in? So, for instance, I'm a writer.
Yeah.
Mainly just programmer, but yeah.
Yeah. I'm primarily a programmer as well, but I definitely dip my toes into a little bit of everything.
Like everything else.
Yeah, like a lot of the stuff I do on YouTube is like multidisciplinary stuff, like coding stuff, but like also showing you the process of like making an art asset and bringing it into like the game engine and then programming with it, stuff like that.
All right.
I'm also primarily a programmer, but on my own personal projects, doing design and art and all that stuff for fun.
All right. Well, that was our group for the Totally Normal Apartment for Global Game Jam 2024. This is the Center for Games and Interactive Media. I'm Zane Petrie, and we are signing off with this interview. Thanks, guys.